Authorities in Mississippi have located a body they believe likely belongs to a teen missing since the 4th of July. 18-year-old Nolan Wells was last seen on Horn Island Saturday, the barrier island.
You're about to hear about a teenager who vanished on one of the busiest holidays of the year. Not at midnight, not in some empty field, in broad daylight, on a crowded beach surrounded by people. His name is Nolan Wells. He was 18 years old. On July 4th, at 3 p.m., he was last seen alive on Horn Island, Mississippi. Here's what you need to understand right away. Horn Island isn't some forgotten strip of sand. It's part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore. On a normal weekend, boats pack its shoreline. On the 4th of July, it's shoulder to shoulder, coolers, music, kids running through the surf. This wasn't an isolated place where someone could just disappear. This was a packed, loud, watched island. So, how does a teenager vanish in front of that many witnesses? That question is exactly why this case has exploded online. By the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through two things almost nobody else has connected clearly: what officially changed in the search, and the one detail that made investigators shift their entire approach. If you want to follow this case as it develops, subscribe right now because we're about to go deeper than anyone else has. Let's talk about who Nolan actually was, not a headline, a person. Nolan Wells grew up in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. He played football at Ocean Springs High School, the kind of player teammates and coaches remember by name, not number. By fall, he was set to be a freshman wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College. He had a team, he had a routine, he had a future that extended far past one holiday weekend on the water. Now, weeks later, none of that matters the way it should, because Nolan Wells is still missing. No confirmed evidence, no verified witnesses. Just a photo, a timestamp, and silence after it. Bridge, to understand how a search this large came up with nothing, you need to see this timeline exactly the way investigators have laid it out. Let's build the timeline, not theories, just what's confirmed. At 3 p.m. on July 4th, Nolan was photographed on the west tip of Horn Island's northern side. Blue swim trunks, no shirt, sunglasses on. That photo is the last confirmed image anyone has of him alive. After that moment, the record goes quiet. No verified sightings. No confirmed timeline of who he was with next. Here's promise number one, delivered right now. Investigators have confirmed that Nolan became separated from his phone that day, and the phone made it back to his family in Mississippi. He did not. Sit with that for a second. His phone completed the trip home. He didn't. That single fact changes how you have to look at everything else. Did he leave it behind? Did someone else carry it back for him? Right now, nobody's saying, at least not publicly. Once Nolan was reported missing, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department moved fast. They set up a command post at the Lake Mars boat launch in Ocean Springs. They called in multiple agencies. This wasn't treated like a routine missing persons report. It was treated like an emergency from R1. And the search that followed was massive. Boats ran patterns around the island for days straight. Ground teams pushed through brush, dunes, and thick coastal growth. Air support scanned the coastline from above, hour after hour. Rangers who know that terrain covered ground most visitors never even reach. Volunteers showed up too, walking for hours in brutal heat, hoping to be the one who found something. So, what did all of that turn up? Nothing. No clothing recovered. No personal items located. No physical evidence pointing in any direction at all. Not toward the water. Not toward the woods. Not toward another boat, another person, another explanation. Think about the size of that response. Multiple agencies. Days of coordinated search time. And still, nobody can answer the most basic question in this entire case. Where is Nolan Wells right now? A search that large doesn't usually come up completely empty. So, Why did this one? That absence of evidence is exactly why investigators started asking one very specific group of people to come forward. Here's promise number 2, and this is the detail that shifted everything. Publicly raised the possibility that someone may have given Nolan a ride off the island. Not confirmed, not proven, but raised publicly on the record by an official spokesperson. That doesn't happen without a reason. Let's break down exactly why that detail matters. Here are 5 things you need to understand. 1. Horn Island isn't connected to the mainland at all. You can't walk off it. 2. If Nolan left, someone had to physically take him by boat. 3. That means at least one other person knows exactly where he went next. 4. Investigators are still publicly asking that person, whoever they are, to come forward. 5. As of right now, nobody has. That last point is the one that should stop you cold. Investigators keep repeating the same public request. If you saw Nolan after that 3 p.m. photo, or spoke to him, or gave him a ride, contact us immediately. When officials repeat a request like that, days apart, it usually means the full picture still isn't complete. If everyone with direct contact had already come forward with a clear story, there'd be no reason to keep asking. So, here's the real question hanging over this entire case. If someone knows where Nolan went after that photo, why haven't they said so publicly? Officials haven't accused anyone of wrongdoing, let me be completely clear about that. But they also haven't said the timeline is resolved. That gap, sitting right in the middle of a holiday crowded with witnesses, is what's keeping this case alive online. If you were on that island on July 4th, would you come forward right now, even years later? Tell me honestly in the comments below. Bridge. That open question doesn't just point to a theory. It points to real people living with the weight of it every single day. Before we go further, I want to be exact about something important. No investigator has named a suspect. No one has been accused of a crime. This isn't a story about a villain hiding in plain sight. It's a story about a family trapped in unresolved silence. And that's arguably harder to carry. Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, has spent every day since July 4th doing what any parent would do. She's gone public, again and again, asking anyone who was on Horn Island that day to share anything at all, photos, videos, the smallest, most forgettable detail. Her posts aren't angry. They aren't pointing fingers at anyone specific. They're desperate. And if you've ever waited on a call that never comes, you already know exactly what that desperation feels like. The response hasn't stopped at his family either. Nolan's football program released a statement asking the community to pray for his safe return. Teammates have shared his photo everywhere they possibly can. Coaches have spoken publicly about who he is as a person, not just a name in a headline scrolling past. Here's the part that's easy to miss. Silence doesn't always mean guilt. Sometimes people are simply scared to get involved. Sometimes they don't realize what they saw actually matters. Sometimes they assume somebody else already spoke up. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every day without answers makes that afternoon harder to reconstruct. If this case matters to you, share this video right now, because Christine is still asking, and more eyes means more chances someone remembers. Every day of silence isn't neutral. It's a cost. Right now, that cost is being paid by a mother who just wants her son home safe. What would you want searches to check next if this were your own family waiting? And after the search, the theories, and the appeals, here's exactly where this case stands right now. Let's bring this back to what we actually, verifiably know. Nolan Wells was last confirmed alive at 3 p.m. on July 4th. His phone stayed at home. Search has recovered, has publicly raised the possibility someone gave him. Everything else, every theory, every guess, still sits in the space between known and unknown. Here's why this case unsettles people the way it truly does. This didn't happen in the dead of night, in some remote location. It happened in daylight, on a holiday, on an island packed with people who were supposed to be watching out for each other. And somehow, that wasn't enough to keep him safe. The search is still active right now. Tips are still coming in every day. Investigators say they're working angles they haven't spoken about publicly yet, which means this story is far from finished. If you want to know the exact moment this case breaks open, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we will cover it the second something new is confirmed. Hit like if you want more fact-check breakdowns like this one. Not speculation dressed up as certainty. Right now, somewhere between last seen and not found, Nolan Wells is still missing. His mother is still waiting by her phone. And somebody, somewhere, still knows more than they've said out loud. If you know anything about Horn Island on July 4th, authorities are still listening, and so are we. Down in the comments.